and welcome to this week's news bulletin from the Christian Institute. Civil liberties organisation Index on Censorship has joined the debate on amending Section 5 of the Public Order Act by saying it was not the role of police officers or magistrates to protect citizens from insult. The organisation's Mike Harris has called on the government to roll back the culture of offence in Britain and suggested that a good start would be removing the word insulting from Section 5, a change backed by organisations including the Christian Institute and the National Secular Society because it criminalises free speech. The comments come following a Home Office consultation which asked whether the term insulting should be removed. Mr Harris also defended the right to free speech, including Christian street preachers, adding that in a free society we need to get used to the fact that robust opinion may from time to time insult you. In a parliamentary debate on care for the dying, David Burrowes MP has called for the need to improve palliative care for the terminally ill, but cautioned against attempts to legislate in favour of assisted suicide. The MP's comments come in the wake of a recent report by the Commission on Assisted Dying, which advocated assisted suicide as an option for those adults thought to have less than a year to live. Ben Rochelle reports.
A debate on care for the dying took place in Westminster Hall this week, led by Conservative MP David Burrowes. In his opening remarks, Mr Burrowes spoke of the need to improve care for the terminally ill, rather than seeking an end-of-life solution.
The growth of palliative care, not the legislation of assisted suicide, should be the central debate about caring for the dying. And as a country, we must do all we can to allow the terminally ill to live a dignified life until death, making the intolerable tolerable, replacing hopelessness with hope and desperation with serenity. But too often this essential part of healthcare is forgotten or simply shrouded by the more high-profile issue of assisted suicide. If you were to read the media reports, indeed this year, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this is the only option for those suffering with terminal illness. Rather than legislating for an abrupt end of life, we need to find better ways to help care for the dying.
In spite of the main focus being about improving palliative care, many MPs expressed concern at the rising profile of assisted suicide.
It seems to me that there is something drastically wrong with a society that can actually contemplate the idea of legalising what in my mind is murder, to define the value of a life dependent upon their physical or their mental capacity, and that is what a change in the law would inevitably open.
I do have this great concern that a right to die will very rapidly become a duty to die for elderly folk, for disabled people, and it says much about a society, the way in which it must look after its most vulnerable. And if we fail to do that, and we allow the law to change, even in a relatively subtle way, whatever the so-called safeguards are, I think that is a very dangerous step that we go down.
Richard Ottaway MP has secured a Commons backbench debate on assisted suicide, which is likely to take place in March.
The use of Sharia courts is on the increase in Britain, with a representative of the Islamic Sharia Council at Leighton telling the BBC Asian network that his caseload had more than tripled in recent years. Critics say Sharia courts should not be allowed to operate as a parallel legal system. Last year, Baroness Cox introduced a bill to the House of Lords which aims to tackle discrimination suffered by Muslim women under Sharia law and create a criminal offence of falsely claiming legal jurisdiction. Tehmina Kazi, Director of British Muslims for Secular Democracy, says the proposed legislation would give women greater clarification on their rights, adding, "The onus is on the Sharia councils to clarify for existing and potential clients that their decisions have no legal weight before any mediation can take place." And Terry Sanderson, President of the National Secular Society, who also backs the new bill, says that UK law must not be compromised by the introduction of a theocratic legal system operating in parallel. Two Roman Catholic midwives have taken their employer to court, claiming their conscientious objection to abortion has been ignored. Mary Dugan and Concepta Wood, who work at Glasgow's Southern General Hospital, argue that being forced to supervise staff taking part in the procedures violates their human rights. NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde Health Board said it recognised their right not to participate in abortions, but believed it was lawful for the women to supervise and support staff nursing women undergoing terminations. A judicial review hearing is now at the Court of Session in Edinburgh, and the midwives have presented a petition stating they hold a belief that involvement in the process of termination, including facilitation of the process, renders them accomplices to and culpable for the grave offence, and that their involvement in the process is wrongful and an offence against God. GP surgeries in the northwest of England will be judged on how gay-friendly they are to patients in a new scheme backed by the NHS in the northwest. The scheme, called Pride in Practice, is being run by homosexual organisation, the Lesbian and Gay Foundation, and the group which oversees hospitals in the region, NHS North West. The move comes as Christians in the medical profession in other parts of the country have faced disciplinary action for mentioning their faith. GP surgeries which sign up for the new Pride in Practice scheme will be marked on 5 criteria, including staff awareness and training, creating a welcoming environment and health promotion. Practices which pass the assessment will then be awarded gold, silver or bronze to recognise their level of achievement. Finally, the number of weddings taking place in the Church of England has seen its biggest annual increase for a decade. According to the 2010 statistics released this week, marriages held on Church of England premises increased by 4% to 54,700. A Church of England spokesman attributed much of the growth to the success of the Weddings Project, a comprehensive online guide to church weddings, including legal aspects, ceremony vows and a planner. Commenting on the figures, the Bishop of Norwich, the Right Reverend Graham James, said, "It's encouraging that making it easier in law to have a church wedding, while investing in research and development to help care for couples and guests, has started to bear fruit." Well, that's all for this week. For more information and regular updates on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.